This is the most expensive camera ever sold. Hi everyone, Robbie here, and today we'll be talking about something quite special and, to be honest, a bit insane. This is a Leica Zero series camera, or Null series camera, which sold for $14.4 million in auction. It is the most expensive camera ever sold. And before you ask why someone in their right mind will actually spend that amount of money on the camera, I'm going to break it down for you. I'm going to tell you why this camera is so special, and I'm really quite honored to have something like this in my hands to show you guys. But before we begin, I would really appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button below if you found this video helpful or mildly entertaining, and feel free to comment down below your thoughts about this camera. Now we begin with a little history lesson. It all started with this guy, Oskar Barnack, who was an engineer working for Lights, which is now known simply as Leica. So back then, in the 1920s, film cameras were huge, bulky, large. So he had a vision. He wanted a portable and small camera. So he took motion picture film and flipped it horizontally into what we know as 35mm film format nowadays. The Leica Null Series was essentially a prototype. Only 25 of them were made, which is why it commands such a high price in today's market. And out of the 25, only a handful of them survive to this day. So every single time one of these go up on sale, it's not just a sales of a camera, it's a historic moment. Now in my hands is a reissue made by Leica. I'm not that rich or crazy to be able to afford $14.4 million, but then Leica has recreated this camera right down to every single detail. Well, not every single detail, they put some modern coating on the lens or stuff like that. While that camera costs about $14.4 million, this one will cost you about $1,500 to $2,000. Regardless, I am really honored to be able to have the opportunity of holding the starting point of essentially what is modern photography. Now, first impressions. When I first saw this camera, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was the Leica 3, and I later found out it was the Leica Null, which is like I said, the first 35mm film format used in photography. The build quality and design of this thing is made completely out of brass. And the fact that some of them are still working after all those years is a testament to Leica build quality and craftsmanship. The controls and dials on this camera feels really dated, but that is the point of this camera. Even though it feels dated, I'm not saying it doesn't feel smooth. It's still buttery smooth, every single control. The shutter is a bit clunkier than modern shutters, but then that's also part of the vintage feel of the camera. The camera has a 50mm f3.5 Elma lens. It is collapsible, so you just pull this thing over, tighten it, and then you have a lens. It's a fixed lens, you can't change the lens on this thing. The viewfinder. This is not a viewfinder, this is all you get. So this is just a framing guide, and then you get a cold shoe here, you get a rewind knob, and then you set your shutter speed here. Now this camera, as I was saying earlier, revolutionized the whole camera industry, right down to the ZBE one that I'm using to shoot this video with. It is the 35mm format. What we know as full frame nowadays is defined by this camera. So you can imagine, you can actually appreciate the impact that this camera had. Maximum shutter speed of this camera is 1/500th of a second, and as I was saying, you get a 50mm f3.5. It doesn't sound much nowadays, does it? But then at that point of time, this was revolutionary. This was top of the line, the bleeding edge of technology. I can't stress this enough, but the impact that this camera have on modern photography as we know it just can't be overstated. The camera that sold for $14.4 million, that was Oskar Barnack's personal Leica Null, what we call the 105. I think I can find some pictures on the internet. Here they are. The starting bid was supposed to be around $3 million, but it quickly ballooned up to 14.4, which is incredible. That is really a testament to the importance of that camera. And yeah, that is the most expensive camera that is ever sold. Now let's talk about how to actually shoot this camera and some of the annoying bits that came with it. Trust me, it will make you appreciate how modern cameras function. Even this one, this is very modern compared to this. Now this camera, as per Leica standards, you have to remove the base plate, take the spool out, like so. Now, before you load your film into the spool, you need to use this template, place it against the film, and cut this bit out. If you don't do this, the film will bunch up inside here and damage the shutter. Yeah, it's a bit fragile, so you can imagine the care that you needed to have being a photographer in the 1920s. Now, the way you set your shutter speed is to wind the shutter halfway, and that is the moment in time where you can set your shutter speed, and that's it. You can't fully wind it and set your shutter speed. The way that shutter speed works on this camera is that you select the width of the opening of the shutter. That is set by this knob over here, so you just give it a turn to select your shutter speed, and then fully wind it, and you have an exposure. Oh yeah, here's something interesting. The Z here stands for bulb, the M uses the shutter speed settings, and R stands for rewind. So only one of those letters actually makes sense. And then before you advance the film, you have to close the lens, cover it up for extra safety, because the shutter actually doesn't close. So as you wind it, the shutter will expose the film, giving you an overexposure. Another interesting thing about this camera is that you don't hold the camera like so. Everything will just be blurry. Instead, you just hold it about 30 centimeters or a foot off your face and then do framing like that. And yeah, that's it. You can't really have accurate framing. I don't understand what this thing is for, but then yeah, it's cute. Yeah, that's the way you shoot the camera. Right, as I was saying, I'm going to load this film into this camera, take it out and do a bit of street photography, and I'm going to post the photographs at the end of the video. Hey, future Robbie here, and unfortunately I can't show you the pictures yet because I didn't load the film properly, but I will be taking this out to do street photography quite soon, and I will be posting the photographs on my Instagram account to show you guys what it's about. Anyway, that has been the most expensive camera ever sold, and yeah, the Leica Zero or Leica Null. See you later.